Good morning, Vinyl community. I'm here to read about the unaliving of the President of the United States. I'm just going to come right out and ask it. Who shot President Kennedy in the head? William the King Harvey or James Files? I have no idea, so I'm just going to leave it to the experts and read a couple chapters out of Patriotism Unhinged. Robert Tosh Plumlee. Mr. Manning wrote these two guys in order, Robert Tosh Plumlee and Johnny Roselli. Why did he do that? Johnny Roselli was on the plane that Tosh Plumlee flew to Dallas on the morning of the assassination. That's why they put them together. Robert Tosh Plumlee. Tosh Plumlee was born in 1937. He joined the United States Army in April of 1954 and was assigned to the Texas 49th Armored Division. Later, he was transferred to Dallas, where he joined the Army Reserve Military Intelligence Unit. After leaving the Army, Plumlee worked as an aircraft mechanic before attaining his license in 1956. Soon afterwards, he began work as a pilot for clandestine CIA operations. This included working for William Harvey, Trace Barnes, and Rip Robertson. Plumlee also transported arms to Cuba from Castro took power. Plumlee was also associated with Operation 40. I don't even know what that is. In 1962, the year that they put Steve in the MK Ultra program, Plumlee was assigned to Task Force W, which operated at the time from the Jim Wave station in Miami. Plumlee claimed that in November 1963, he was a co-pilot on a top-secret flight supported by the CIA. Plumlee's flight left Florida on November 22nd and stopped in New Orleans and Houston before reaching Dallas in the early morning hours of November 22nd. On board was Johnny Roselli. Plumlee testified that their assignment was to stop the planned assassination of JFK. Tosh Plumlee testified in 2004, when I later learned Oswald had been arrested as a lone assassin. I remembered having met him on the number of previous occasions which were connected with the intelligence training matters, first an illusory warfare training in Nags Head, North Carolina. Dr. Proctor, so we are to have some young man, Lee Oswald, who, as far as we know, was a very happy Marine. Given the opportunity to serve his country in a clandestine way, he was given the opportunity to serve his country in a clandestine way. He wasn't picked up by Soviet intelligence, so he came back. He's going around trying to find out who he is and what he can do, and gets caught up into something that he has no idea what he's getting caught up in. Plumlee worked as an undercover operative and contract pilot for the federal government during the drug war during the presidency of Ronald Reagan. In 1977, Plumlee testified from Frank Church and his Select Committee on Intelligence Activities. He also testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in 1990 and 1991. That brings us to the movie star Johnny Roselli, otherwise known as Filippo Sacco. Yet another AKA too, which we will get to later, I guess. Johnny Roselli. Johnny Roselli, Filippo Sacco, first became involved in crime when he worked for Al Capone in 1920s. By the end of the Second World War, Roselli had emerged as a senior crime boss in Las Vegas with close links to Mayor Lansky. Roselli is like a storybook character. In the movies, he would be cast as a gangster. He was a handsome guy and very outgoing. He was known as the Godfather of the West Coast. So whenever they decided to kill Castro, the United States and the Kennedys were in agreement with Kellyanne Castro. In March 1960, President Dwight Eisenhower of the United States approved a Central Intelligence Agency plan to overthrow Fidel Castro. The plan involved a budget of $13 million. to train a paramilitary force outside Cuba for guerrilla action. The strategy was organized by Richard Bissell and Richard Helms. Richard Bissell was the second highest man in the CIA at that time under Allen Dulles, who was responsible for major projects such as the U-2 spy plane and the Bay of Pigs invasion. See, now they're trying to say that Lee Harvey Oswald, Dulles is telling President Kennedy that Lee went and stole the U-2 documents out of Russia and presented them to Kennedy. Lee Harvey Oswald stole these documents for you, Mr. President. That's the U-2 spy plane and the Bay of Pigs invasion. He is one of the most important spy masters in the CIA history. He's talking about Johnny Roselli, one of the most important spy masters in CIA history. Sidney Gottlieb, we all know who that is, of the CIA Technical Service Division, was asked to come up with proposals that would undermine Castro's popularity with the Cuban people. Plans included a scheme to spray a television studio in which he was about to appear with a hallucinogenic drug and contaminate his shoes with thallium, which they believed would cause his hair and his beard to fall out. These schemes were rejected, and instead, Bissell decided to arrange the assassination of Fidel Castro. In September of 1960, Richard Bissell and Allen Dulles, the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, initiated talks with the two leading figures of the mafia. Roselli, here's his other AKA, using the name John Ralston, and Sam Giancana. We all know who that is. On March 12, 1961, William Harvey arranged for CIA operative Jim O'Connell to meet Sam Giancana, Santo Trafficani, Johnny Roselli, and Robert Mayhew at the Fontainebleau Hotel. During the meeting, O'Connell gave poison pills and $10,000 to Roselli to be used against Fidel Castro. As Richard D. Mahoney points out in his book, Sons and Brothers, The Days of Jack and Bobby Kennedy, 1999, late one evening, probably March 13th, Roselli passed the poison pills and the money to a small reddish-haired Afro-Cuban by the name of Raphael Macho Jenner, G-E-N-E-R, in the Boom Boom Room. That's like a play that we studied in college, In the Boom Boom Room. It was a comedy. I can't remember who it was by. A location Giancana thought stupid. Roselli's purpose, however, was not just to assassinate Castro, but to set up the mafia's partner in crime, the United States government. According, he was laying a long, bright trail of evidence that unmistakably implicated the CIA into the Castro plot. This evidence, whose purpose was blackmail, would prove critical in the CIA's cover-up of the Kennedy assassination. Johnny Roselli was on the plane that Tosh Plumlee flew to Dallas on the morning of the assassination. Supposedly, he was told by Roselli that it was an aborted attempt. There were two other men on the plane with Roselli, yet Tosh didn't even know who they were. Imagine going to do this project, you don't even know who you're flying with. You don't know, okay, go this way while I shoot you in the back of the head. They might have been Cubans, they might have been Corsicans, who knows? Roselli was one of the first people to be interviewed by the House Select Committee on Assassinations. He went missing on July 76. The body was later discovered in the intercoastal waterways in North Miami. He had been cut up and stuffed into a 55-gallon drum. We're going to leave this here now because there's so much going on with Charlie Kirk. I'm very reluctant to read this stuff. Mr. Manning is supposed to do a stream on Monday. We'll see if he does. Until then, I'm going to continue reading. Tomorrow, Albert Osborne and David Christensen. On and on we go. If you think there's any truth there, please like and subscribe and share. Have a nice day, and thank you very much.